Yeah, I've been in all day today, but hopefully tomorrow will be a nice day.
It's supposed to be nice, I thought, all week.
That's good.
Hi, Janice.
Kyle.
Hey, Will.
Okay, just want to make sure you can hear me. All right.
Yep.
So,
Is Dave joining us?
Yep, we're on. We're all on there, ready to go.
Okay, I'm sorry. My computer decided I didn't belong on here and it wasn't gonna let me come on. I went a different way. Okay. Okay, what time is it? Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 22nd work session for the town of Upper Marlboro. It is 7:04. May I have a roll call, please?
President Linda Penoyer.
Present.
Commissioner Janice Duckett.
Present.
Commissioner Sarah Franklin.
Present.
Dave Williams, Town Clerk, all present.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, the first item on the agenda is the 2020 Employee Handbook. I'm going to turn this over for an outline from Will Morgan, our Human Resources. Will, if you'd give them a general idea of what we're going on. Will.
sorry, I had to mute myself. Sure. So myself and Kyle, we've been going through the handbooks that the town has on file to try to get things up to speed. Currently, right now in the town of Upper Marlboro, where we have a handbook, but to our liking, it's probably not where it needs to be. And a little bit of that is mostly because we just haven't updated as of recent. So right now we've been working on to get our policy, employee handbook policy, updated to some of the standards of how we work with as far as our employees' time, what time they work from start to finish, things like equal opportunities, social media. Now, social media plays a huge factor in things. So things like that, we're going to have a discussion on this evening to make sure that we are able to hold our employees to a standard for any incidents that may occur for probationary periods and things of that nature. So it's not very detailed. We do have a blueprint that we're working off of. So it's maybe not going to be too detailed as far as things that needs to be changed. But again, we just need to update and amend it as things change, as the years go on. So we're going to go into, we're going to discuss that tonight. And our plan, based off of the timeline, is to be able to discuss something with the Board of Commissioners and also the department heads, and then also be able to move this to October to, I believe, our next work session as we kind of fine tune the final things that was discussed, and potentially by November and or December be able to have an approved employee handbook for the end of this calendar year. So that way we can start the 2021 with some new fresh things. So there'll be some things that we're going to have to change and amend, but nothing too alarming, just so we can know how to, I won't say govern, but we can hold our employees and everyone to a certain standard, to the same standard.
Okay, thank you. We will discuss this further when we go into closed session. So, moving on to the Upper Marlboro 2030 Master Plan Outline. For this one, I am going to call upon Commissioner Franklin, since she wrote this, and I'm going to allow her to explain and where we're going with this.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Hi. So one of the things that I think would help our town, both to get kind of direction and capital planning and, smooth things out so we know what we're doing, is to have a vision plan. Instead of doing like a typical 20-year plan, I thought a 10-year plan would be good for us, take it in littler chunks. And I started by just kind of laying it out the way that I normally would lay out a comprehensive plan. So having our values, describing the residents and the town, kind of describing the government, the structure, our committees, what the town looks like, our history, and then one of the things that was really important to me, and I believe to the other commissioners, is that we build more community and have more resident involvement. So there would be a community involvement, a big community involvement element in the creation of the actual plan, part of the plan. So this is just kind of an outline so you can see. So we would have website information, regular town meeting updates, community vision updates in separate communities, business input, virtual polling. If I missed any other great ways to get community involved, I would love to hear them. I just was kind of drafting something for us to start from. And then I kind of had to have a general idea for how that plan might break down. And this could all change based on community. But we could kind of break the town up into districts. So we have the heritage area, the historic center, the residential areas, any commercial areas, open space, annexation areas for future. And then we would have an area on transportation networks, an area on recreation, one on economic development, and then break that all down to some vision goals, what the town's goals would be by 2030, and break that into little individual plans. And then kind of to go with that, we would have a section on funding sources, ways we could get outside funding for those. So that's kind of my first brush. Here's what I think this could look like. And we could get some of the things we really want to do written down, guide staff, guide commissioners, and a lot of the meetings I've been having since becoming commissioner are like, well, you can get grant funding if you have a plan for this. So kind of integrate those plans into this to help us get more grant funding.
And just to build off of that, Commissioner, I think one of the big things is as the town goes to develop those relationships, I think having a plan showing the town's looking to grow, and this is our roadmap, will go a long way in meeting up with the state and the county and even federal levels, and get, like you say, getting them on board with funding and grant program, and that way they see a vision, they can help support that vision.
Yeah, and we can kind of, when we have a vision for something like, say, an old school building, and someone wants to do something different with it, we have sort of this legally adopted document to go forward and argue with. Just as an example.
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody have any comments or questions regarding this? Because this is something that we will be working on. So if now anybody sees any, bear in mind, this is now a work in progress. This is not
Yeah.
etched in granite, it is a work in progress. And I thank you, Commissioner Franklin, for being willing to set this down on paper. Some of this is on paper through sustainability
Yes.
in our action plan there, but we can, it's all part and parcel of the same goal.
Yep.
So keeping that in mind, so anybody have any questions or any comments on this?
Yes, this is Janice, Commissioner Duckett. Is this a draft? This is a draft, so there's room for like in additional additions to this document, or if we have some suggestions.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
This is a draft outline. Kyle's already given me suggestions that I've put in. I've thought of things after the meetings I had this weekend. So it'll be a process with us thinking of things to add, and then the community coming forward and saying, hey, what about this? And we'd like to see that. You got this date wrong, or, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like I said, this is just the draft, and it's the first time it's being presented. I think it's a document as it's stated right now, and we can fine tune it. And I'm sure that we will have comments along the way, and we welcome them. As usual, that's why I stand before you every week and say, does anyone have any questions or comments? Now is the time, even if you look at this later and you have a question or comment, that's what emails are for and telephones are for. Give us a call.
I also have fun, community fun involved with getting feedback as well. I plan.
Yeah, so we encourage your feedback on this.
And suggestions.
Those of you on this, and we will be talking with people, all of us will be, regarding many of these things over the next few months. So.
Yeah, I think on timeline, I'd like to have kind of all the information we already have and the background compiled together and over the winter, so that we can kind of go into the spring with a community action plan, when hopefully we might be able to get out in the communities more, even if we have to be creative about it, so that we can really get that public input piece and adopt it hopefully in the summer if things work out with participation.
Well, we might be able to do that a little earlier than that, but we'll see.
We just keep our fingers crossed.
There's a plan afoot, but I haven't finalized that yet. I need a date.
What?
I need some information before I can say, the weather's still nice and we can do, but I need to know when something's going to happen first. So,
Okay.
So again, keep all of this in mind. It's a wonderful presentation, and I'm sure if we went down this list, everybody's got a comment on just about everything you've got on here.
Yeah, and if you guys want to just email me directly, anyone who's listening to this, with any comments, I can incorporate them in, and we can even have a public comment appendix that's just all the public comment that's come in on it. if that helps.
Okay. At this point, how many people we have on this call? That's not bad. Okay.
11.
Yeah, we've got 11 people in here. That's 11 people who can comment. And as long as we can get this out a little bit more, we'll get more comments. And
I'm sure.
Yeah,
once-
I mean, maybe we can work out like a more concise version of it so that's easier to
we can
digest.
section it off too.
Yeah.
We can section it off and maybe,
Make a section on the website for it.
right. If we section it off and say, let's discuss this portion and see what happens.
And we can just stick my email down there. So if people have a comment, they can immediately click on it, comment.
Or we
me.
can also do that with info at Upper Marlboro and it'll come right to the office.
I was just thinking about taking the weight off the town staff since I came up with this project. So,
That's what I'm here for. Distribute the mail. No problem.
Okay. Any questions or comments before we go on?
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
Evelyn from Old Mill Road. Sarah, I really am impressed by the completeness, comprehensiveness of your document.
Mhm.
And I am so pleased to see under, well, let's see, transportation networks. I'm really pleased to see that you're
that's
talking
there for
about
you.
roads. Thank you. So I really think, well, yeah, this can happen for me, for the neighborhood. So, and I like the idea where Linda said that, we could do it in sections and that way get really comprehensive with each section. And I just want to say, job well done.
Thank you.
This would be so much easier if we were not under COVID, because we could have
Well,
those groups. It's a lot easier to do, and get out there and do even now. When you ask people, call in to have a comment, we tend to lose some people.
well, initially we'll be doing the overview. So that way, that's a little more like people can go online and be like, oh, you got this information wrong or you missed that information. And so we can keep our fingers crossed, but by the time we're getting more into the planning
hopefully we will. I think this is a discussion that I'd like to see the faces of people, and
Yes.
they're sitting in our meeting room rather than on the screen.
I agree.
And they tend to interact better that way.
Yep.
As well.
We may need to be outside rather than a meeting room,
Yeah.
but
Hopefully the weather will hold out longer. Okay, moving on, we will go to item 3, which is the business license program. Okay, Kyle, do you want to give a little overview so everybody understands?
Absolutely, Mayor. Yes. If everyone just wants to check out my memo I sent out, it's included in the packet. It kind of gives a background on the business licensing program, when it was established, the legislation behind it, which is the ordinance and the resolution. The resolution sets the fees and some of the issues we've run into it since enacting it. The biggest thing is the lottery unit requirement, where we charge $100 per lottery sales unit. When the information went out to some of the businesses, one of the businesses with lottery machines called the State Lottery, who provide them documentation that we sent to Kevin, and the town attorney agreed that that part of the ordinance was erroneous and we couldn't enforce it, so we have not been. However, the license fee itself and the liquor license fee both stay, and the liquor license is something that a lot of other municipalities put into place. And then out of it, there's just some suggestions, and I think I included it in the commissioner's packet, an email from Attorney Best, where he kind of discusses in depth of what some of the changes we could do to enhance this ordinance. And so you can see just removing the lottery sales, obviously, adding some of the business types to the requirement. We have a couple paid parking lots that act as businesses, hair salons, construction engineering, boutique, etc. And some clarifications we just wanted to kind of get a sense from the board. Like, if now that we're looking at annex and phase 2 and 3 is heavily commercial, at what point do we immediately ask them for a business license? Is there maybe a 1-year grace period for everyone to figure out what's going on, or they apply or something like that? And then possibly looking into, right now it's set up as an annual license, but maybe to help offset some of the burden on the businesses and the staff to process 200 business licenses every year. It becomes 200 business licenses every 2 years, so it's divided up as 100, just to kind of keep the workflow down. And then also, as we look to annex some larger businesses, 84 Lumber, Home Depot, they're huge companies that do a lot more than maybe Grace's Shoe Repair on Main Street. So just considerations from that. I know the mayor's pulled a bunch of research of what other municipalities do. If anyone wants that, I think I have it available. I can send it over to the commissioners, but that's just kind of the topics staff just wanted to kind of put out there to the board to discuss, give us some direction. And we can probably work on this ordinance over the next 4 or 6 months, or whatever the time frame the board would like. But then, so the board did suspend due to COVID the 2020 program, but it will be revving back up October 1st, and the application period will be open from October 1st to December 31st. We've had a couple businesses pay and get issued licenses already, but we'll be working to sending letters out on that. And then after December 31st, the businesses that have not paid and not historically paid, we're going to work on the enforcement side of the ordinance, which allows us to issue a municipal infraction and potentially take them to court to request them to pay it. So, and the town attorney advised once they get the notice for a court date, 9 times out of 10 they comply and pay the fee. So that after December 31st, we'll probably be looking at that enforcement side of things. But that's all I have. I can take any questions.
So Kyle, sorry, the board just delayed the licensing fee until October 31st because
Correct.
It was normally
It is normally June and July. They pushed it back 6 months to October. So now that the courthouse is opening up, it's
right.
Yeah, it's going to go into
It's
full
busy down
reopening
there, yeah.
phase 5. Yeah. So just give them that little comfort. But we have had some businesses that have paid it already, just to get it out of the way, I guess. But those were service driven.
Okay.
And the website's set up and everything's ready to go for us to start doing that. And I think I included the link if the commissioners just want to look at it, see the application, see the process that businesses go through.
Mm-hmm.
That's all there. And feel free to let me know if you see anything that needs change.
And are we providing feedback now, or are we waiting to do that?
You can, yeah. This kind of just thrown out there in discussion with the mayor's request. So yeah, feedback can come out now, or think of it and email back. We'll probably start drafting a new ordinance in the coming months, like I said, to at least take off the lottery sales, definitely. And then
yeah, that should come off.
Yeah.
I was just going to make a suggestion when you're talking about 2-year license instead of 1 year, that it might make sense to have like half the businesses each year, so that instead of every other year you're doing all of them,
yes,
every year you're doing half.
Exactly. Yeah. And we're hoping that it'll kind of fall into place that way. But yeah, maybe take the existing businesses on 1 year and then all the new ones are added. It's the second year after we annex and whatnot. But yeah, that's my hope. That we're processing them all every year.
I think that's a good plan.
Now that I'm going to Assuming you both stop talking, I can get in edgewise. We suspended this for a number of reasons, COVID not, withstanding. This is the first year, last year was the first year we had the business license. We hadn't had one prior. And it netted us about $15,000 and only about half the people, businesses paid. Before we start forward again, I do want to think about what we want in the future. I know money is an issue, but in the same token is we're looking for redevelopment and development. Sometimes raising the fee or attaching a $300 fee might not, they say, well, what's $300? To a small business, it's a lot, and we have a lot of small businesses. Half of those, our businesses did not pay. That should tell us something. So I do think we need to seriously look at the fee that we're charging and how we're charging it. As Cal said, I have done some research, and so has Evelyn, regarding what other towns and municipalities are doing. And I think we need to look at the overall ordinance. And we went into this headlong. I don't know that we really looked into it well enough. Obviously not if we went afoul of the law, thinking that we can just charge whatever we want to whomever we want. So I think this needs to be discussed further. I have a number of things that I found out. Bear in mind, these people are already paying county licenses to do business in the county. So now we're asking them to do, to do business in the county. For example, I think Lido's pays $54 a year to do business in the county. And we're asking them to pay $300 just to do business in our town. That's a little disconcerting to me. So I think that this does need further discussion. And we can fine tune out when everybody needs to pay, but I think we need to fine tune what they need to pay and how they need to pay it. We aren't talking businesses that, at one point, I remember having somewhat of a conversation on this, and the statement was made, attorneys can afford $300, no big deal. Well, maybe an attorney can, but Grace's Shoe Repair, I don't know how they stay in business. Some of our restaurants right now are in, they're hanging on by their fingernails. We're praying that when the court comes back, they're going to come back. A lot of their business will come back. But I think we need to really talk to them as well. I'm sure I know they have a lot to say because it went into my ear the first time when we put it in the first time. And yes, you're going to have some people who will pay it and just be done with it. But you're going to have a lot more that don't. And are we going to, where are we going to make that stand, and how far are we going to go? So those are the things I think we need to talk about.
I have a question. So how were the fees determined previously?
We didn't determine anything previously. This is the first time our fees were set.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Our fees were set in this ordinance for the first time. We had no ordinance, no fees, anything prior to this ordinance.
When did that occur? Missing that maybe.
It was 2018.
Oh, in 2018. So were we collecting fees prior to that?
No.
So we weren't even collecting business fees. So it's something they're definitely not used to.
Yeah, and I don't think, if I remember correctly, I think it may have been a number that the town attorney kind of just included in the draft legislation when he drafted it all, and it kind of carried forward through.
300,
I don't think we did
Kyle?
any case study or anything. I'm pretty sure that that's where that number kind of came from.
The $300.
The $300.
Okay.
I mean, I did do some reviews myself to check out to see what other towns were charging, and it is much less than the 300 that we charge. So
It basically goes all over the map. Some of them are $20
Yeah.
fees, some of them are $500 fees.
yeah, but with the town that I was thinking about comparing to Upper Marlboro.
Right, and that's what we have to also look at when we're looking at those.
I have a question about, so do the businesses pay another tax to us based on like their equipment? Am I wrong in that?
Yeah, personal property. Will, you want to hop in on that one?
Yes, the businesses pay their business personal property taxes annually. That's not a fixed rate. It can fluctuate up or down depending on how much SDAT evaluates their property, or sorry, not their property, their assets within the property. So, but yes, they do pay that annually.
What's an average that they pay that, Will? I've seen a couple when you print them out, it's like $34 sometimes, or maybe $6.
No, it really fluctuates. You can get somebody that pays literally 70 cents to somebody that might pay $9,000. It all depends. And obviously, some of the $9,000 ones are big, probably some of the big construction companies or utility companies. But I mean, it really can vary. But I would say, honestly, Kyle, for the most part, majority of them probably pay somewhere under $300.
Okay.
Sorry. So do they pay something to the county and something to us? Like it kind of gets split up the way income taxes do?
For personal property or the business fees?
The personal property. I'm just trying to understand all the taxes that they're having to pay.
I want to say it goes to the state as well, Will, since the state.
Yeah, so actually, so they have to, so the businesses, they actually have to pay an annual fee of either I believe $100 to the state to pretty much let the state know that they're still in operations, and for the state to do their review or inspection of their assets.
Actually, Will, it's $300.
I was gonna say 300. I don't know what's that. I knew it was between 100 and 300, but yeah. So they have to pay that annually, and then what the state does is either I guess they sit somebody out or have a conversation with them, and they'll assess the values of everything within that facility or their business, whether it's their inventory, their light fixtures, desks, those types of things. They draft that up and send me an assessment rate for their property, for their assets, and based off of what the Board of Commissioners approves annually for their business personal property tax rate, we bill that way. So that's how we get the value of their assets, and that's how we bill.
Okay.
So they do have to pay the state to I guess to do their inspection, the town for having some type of business or utilities or whatnot, pipes or wires within the Upper Marlboro, town of Marlboro. And yes, they do have to pay the if they're a property owner of the business, they have to pay the taxes, of course. But typically, is really only for business personal property taxes. That can be for a tenant that's a business and or a property owner, depending who's inside the facility.
Okay. Thank you.
And then another thing, our business license requires them to be up to date with the state. So I know in our findings, there's been a lot of businesses that were not in good standing with the state. So this business licensing program does let us have that focused approach, and because the state's not really coming out and auditing because they're looking statewide, but this licensing program does allow us to kind of make sure everyone's up to code with the state and county regulations, because they have to give their state number and their county number, and we check to make sure it's in good standing. And for them to apply, they have to be in good standing. So if the enforcement action will bring them into code with all the actions. So we were surprised. There's a couple big businesses that were not in good standing with the state, and it was okay. So so obviously we couldn't issue them anything, but all the ones that applied, I think the 56 that applied and got through, they were in good standing with the state. So that's a good sign. But it just allows us to have that focused look in on what's happening in our downtown and our commercial district.
So the process helps us make sure everyone,
Yep.
all our businesses are doing what they need to do.
Correct. Yeah, we're not running as shadow businesses and fronts and stuff.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not, saying we don't need the business license, because I think we do. I just think we need to take another look at how much we did the business license and also increased commercial property tax in the same month last year.
Right.
That did not help. So I just think we need to step back and take another look before we go forward. And a lot of the things that are, we've discussed, of course, we definitely have to remove the lottery sales because we're completely off the rails on that one.
Right.
And then look at maybe the type of business and how, and then the fees that go along with it. You have very small businesses that aren't making that kind of money. And like I said, they're already being dinged here, there, and everywhere, and then we come along with $300. That's
Yeah, I mean, I did a little research myself, probably not as much as you and Janice have done, but everything I looked at varied by type of business rather than having one.
so. Like I said, I think we just need to take another look at it.
Sounds good. We should decide soon, though, because October 1st approaches.
I know it does. It's definitely looming. At this point, I would like to put it on hold for another, for 60 days, which should give us time to rethink everything and take another look.
What do you mean by everything? Sorry.
When looking at how much, we're charging, who we're charging, and how we're charging it, how we're basing our charges.
You mean how we decide what to charge each type of business?
What is that based on?
Okay, that makes sense.
And so, Mayor, did that mean moving the October 1st date out, or continuing with the October 1st date and getting everything ready for the June 2021 cycle?
I don't think we're going to get that many people that are going to pay at this point. I mean, if we haven't sent out notices, and how many people we've had what, 3 or 4 people that just know that that's what they do. They're going to pay a license. And it's now the end. We're winding down September. So June, in 4 months, nobody but a handful of people decided they wanted to pay. I don't think we're gonna get too many more. So I think what I'd like to do is put it on hold before we send out the actual notice until we have a better idea of what we're doing. Because otherwise we're gonna go back and either refund somebody some money, or say it's a 2-year license. If
Right.
license,
I guess
we drop, we drop the price down to, down to say 150 and say, okay, it's 2 years license. Well, people who paid last year basically paid for 2 years.
Well, I mean, I think that depends on how much we are charging people. It sounds like at this point, we have an issue anyway, because some people have paid and some people haven't paid, and some people are expecting that on October 1st to December 31st, we would have an idea of what they're going to pay. And I guess whether, holding it off and not having a fee this year, I think if we make a decision like that, it needs to be like, this is a decision because of COVID, because otherwise then next year it's like, well, I didn't have to pay a fee last year. Why do I have to pay one this year? So if we decide to put it off, I think we decide to put it off because of the situation. At the same time, because I know financial concerns exist, I would like to hear from Mr. Morgan to find out what he thinks about he's smiling, the loss of funds through that.
The loss of funds through that, I mean, it'll have an effect. I do think that it maybe is important to jumpstart or get it moving sometime this year, so it's not the full effect, if we can do so. I know there's been some multiple options that's been thrown around, whether it's a 2-year, having partial of those or half of those other businesses that didn't pay, maybe pay this year and jumpstart the other ones that did pay the following year. So I think stuff like that is important, of course, because it hurt a little bit, though we did budget less this year than what we did previously. But I also think that we probably will get, I think that we'll probably get more than what we expect. I think that we don't have a really accurate list of the businesses because a lot of businesses have came in and come out, especially through the pandemic. We don't know still what's out there. But will it hurt to not have that, I guess, 15,000 or so come in? Yeah, I mean, yes, but I mean, there may be other ways or other things that we can do in the meantime to kind of fill that gap.
But would it hurt to try to just go ahead and try to get that?
Oh, no, I don't think so at all. I don't think it will hurt. For me, I think the decision will be what is the cost that the Board of Commissioners comes up with and who's going to pay that cost. And then for us, the last thing to me is just really making sure that we have an accurate listing of what businesses that we can be able to send the information out to. So just some decision making and I guess a little groundwork.
Yeah, I think we aren't ready to do that by October 1st, but it sounds like
yeah, I don't think October 1st either. If that's what it takes, I don't think October 1st.
Yeah, but I think it sounds like we could make that decision potentially in October, if not in November.
Right.
Rather than not doing, and I think not doing anything this year is confusing. So we need to either make a decision and send out letters saying we've decided not to charge fees this year because of COVID, or send out letters saying these are the new fees, so that we're communicating and it's clear and we don't seem disorganized and all over the place.
I think we kind of don't delay either. I mean, I know not by October 1st, but I think that if we really push it, we can get this done and then give them something that we can move forward with. I think it's probably going to be more detrimental not to do anything. I can understand also using COVID as a reason not to, but who's to say that they can't? Who's to say that the resources that they receive from the government wouldn't be some monies that they're putting aside to pay something like this, and to see something, an opportunity to come through to pay less would probably be a blessing to them, I'm sure. So I think,
yeah, I mean, I wonder if my fellow commissioners have enough information for the three of us to kind of figure out a schedule and run it by town staff and have something to vote on in October. I mean, because I know, Linda, you've done a ton of research on this. So do you feel like you would be ready to get there? Oh, you're muted. We can't hear you.
No, I closed off my mic because I thought that was making Janice's mic go a little crazy. Sometimes when too many people are on, that's what we get. We could probably shoot for doing it with the October work session, getting our ducks in a row by then. That's really only maybe a month.
So the fees are set by resolution. So we could pass a resolution pretty quickly versus changing the entire ordinance. But the resolution only applies to the fee amount that we charge, not how many years or business type. So if the board wanted to consider maybe just reducing this year's fees, it could be done by resolution, passed and put in legislation that way. And then we have time until June to pass a new ordinance that would actually govern the whole structure of the program. So just an option. A resolution could be passed on the date that it's introduced, so we could have something as early as the October town meeting or the work session.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, if we do that, then we can work on the ordinance itself in between, because that has to change.
And when we
Right.
send this year's letters out, once the board decides on the resolutions, we can include a section in there guiding the businesses to a spot on the website that they can provide feedback and just track that's just to that be, instead of sending them separate letters and trying to get them in, when we send out these letters for this year, we could mention that we're looking to revamp it, and we'd love their input and feedback.
That would be a great idea, to have them have a forum to get back. Just I feel like businesses, it's harder for them to get to a meeting, but if they could give us feedback online.
Don't want to add fuel to the fire. I just want to kind of get clarity. So if we come up with the decision to change the fees or the costs associated with each business, and we get it mailed out by, I don't know, December, and have people paying. I know you said some language in the ordinance decides how often they have to pay, but does this mean that I'm going to bill or invoice every business, even the ones that paid for the previous year?
You mean the ones that already paid this year?
Well, it depends on what we decide as far as the fees go. If we decide to lower the fee to 150, then the people who paid last year basically have paid this year.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if that answers your question well, but that's, how I would look at it.
The answer to your question is uncertainty.
Well, right now, the ordinance does clearly state it's a 1-year license, so it does not legally allow for flexibility between the 2-year licensing years. So I think the resolution change would only affect from June 2020 to June 2021 rate, unless I could talk to the town attorney and see if we could somehow merge the two via resolution, but I'd have to check the ordinance, because that's where that structure of the 1 year is laid out.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, I think we need to take a look at the overall, how the ordinance is structured, and what I know we have to change the ordinance in at least 2 places. So we need to really look at the ordinance again to make sure that it is the way we want it to be and it is above board. And looking at the resolution, which would set the fees.
Right.
So we have to look at both documents at the same time.
I think what that is, like, if we're making a decision to do both documents at the same time, I feel like because of how that process, we're really deciding to not collect a fee this year, versus if we decide to just update the resolution, then we can still collect a fee this year. Because if we have to update both things, it sounds like we're not going to be able to do it until potentially adopting it in January, in which case we're bumping super close to the fee for 2021. Yes, 2021. So I think that's my kids. I feel like we are trying to make a decision as to whether we should charge a fee this year or not, and then go forward with whether we're taking updating the resolution option or updating everything together option. Just because I don't think it's nice to assess them in January and again in June.
So we could pass a resolution that puts the fee at half, 150 or whatever rate that the board decides. So they're only paying a small amount for this year. We'll take the hit, but at least we're collecting something and getting everyone back into the mood and reminding them that this is a thing. And then a note in there saying, hey, we're going through this process. And in May, I would say April or May is when we'd be passing the final versions. We have a new ordinance and a new resolution coming out. So we'd pass a resolution now, and then a final resolution that hopefully would last 5-10 years in spring 2021. That would govern the program starting June 2021.
Yeah.
And we could even potentially, I'm just saying, assuming that, I don't know, include some kind of way for the businesses that paid that $300 fee in the first year to apply for some kind of like a forgiveness or something, because they paid it, no one else did, we haven't collected it from everyone. It's really kind of unfair that some people have and some people haven't. But that could be separate from this. Does that make sense?
So that would depend on how we word it.
Yes.
And that's why I was asking, trying to make sure I'm sending the invoices or the billing out to the right people, because I don't want to send it out to them and then they feel slighted as if because they paid $300, now it's $150, and then the other business that did not pay last year but was active or operational paid the full amount. That's why I was just asking that question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
At this point, I think what we should be doing, what I'll do is I'll take what has been discussed here and rough draft it out so everybody's looking at the same wording. And then distribute that to the commissioners and to you, Will. And we can talk with Kevin as to what we can do on the ordinance and the resolution and what we can't do simultaneously. And then draft a letter up to the businesses. But we'll get that input in first. I mean, I'm sure that Sarah has her thoughts on whether or not we should pay, they should pay $150 or how we need to know what we're going to do at this point. $100 is too much.
Right. I'm just thinking that the most, maybe efficient, and we're not very efficient right now, but thing to do would be to decide if we want to try to collect this year or not, because that gives us that helps us figure out, are we trying to do this before our October meeting, or are we trying to, do we have more time with this? So that's what I think the three of us should decide.
I agree for sure. I think we need to try to get something out there.
Okay. We will go ahead and collect or send out a letter for collection, and
well,
I'm not going to be the only one taking the hit on it.
No, I wasn't saying we should definitely send a letter out for collection. I was saying we should decide if we want to collect or not. I think Janice said she thinks we should try to collect. Yes?
Well, that means send out a letter. If you're going to collect, you have to send out a letter for collect to the businesses.
Okay, but so
if we're going to do that, that's fine. If that's what we want to do. So if you want a motion to put that question on board, then make it.
okay, so I would make a motion that we decide, or I would, what is my motion?
For town staff to draft a resolution to edit the fees.
We haven't decided
Well,
to edit the fee.
we haven't decided if we're I mean, I think we can have a conversation without emotion initially. Like, so Janice is saying we should go ahead and assess fees. Yes, Janice? Did I get that right?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Linda is saying we shouldn't assess fees, which fits me.
Well, not.
Well,
No, I don't think Janice is saying we should assess $300 fees.
no.
Yeah. I think.
Then what should we assess?
Well, but I think that's so I make a motion that we as a board assess fees to the businesses to be determined, not the fees from last year. Oh God, this motion is a mess. Hold on.
Don't
Janice, can you have more luck making this motion than I am?
Well, so I motion to move to assess fees or assess. Oh, we're trying to figure out where we're going to assess. So to assess.
Maybe it was Kyle was right in the first place.
Yeah, maybe.
It would be to direct town, you'd be making a motion asking the town staff to draft a updated resolution to change the fees from $300 to X dollars for a presentation at the October town meeting for passage.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
Have to draft.
Or it really doesn't have to be a motion. It could just be the three commissioners, you generally agree that this is X is the number we would like to charge them from October to June 2021. And then the vote would come at the October town meeting with the resolution.
Okay, that makes so much sense.
That's the approval part out in the public.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just give me a number.
Well, I guess what we're saying is, it sounds like Janice and I think we should assess something.
Mhm.
And I don't feel like I can say what that number is right now. I don't know if Linda and Janice can say what they feel that number is based on because they've done more research than I have.
When I was thinking about it, I do agree with what Linda mentioned about in terms of the fee itself. Because if some folks have already paid, as Will mentioned also, there's definitely going to be disgruntled folks that, well, I mean, how would anyone know who paid and who didn't other than
Only two people
Oh,
paid.
yes, they will.
Oh, they talk amongst
I mean,
each
you know,
other.
Oh, yes, they will.
They do.
say unless they're talking to each other. So, I mean, yeah, we would have to just have a carefully crafted email or letter to try to, and we'll have to talk about that. I mean, I can't just say right now exactly what that letter is going to say, but we'll need to talk about that.
Only 2 businesses have paid the $300 fee so far this year. So that's a very small percentage. Whatever fee the board sets, we could easily issue a refund check to those 2 for that amount for the balance. So we keep the balance that is due and just issue a new check. It's only 2 people. Will, that's correct, right? Will, 2 people, 2 businesses, and 1 we're not sure of should have paid.
Yeah, so I checked today. It actually was just 1. The other one applied.
Okay, but did not pay.
2 applications, but they did not pay. I don't see a payment from them as of May 1st. So, but we did have 1 that applied. One that paid and 2 that applied.
Yeah, so it's not going to generate that much confusion on people who've already paid. It's just 1. We have their phone number. We just call her, hey, the board reduced the rate. Your refund check's in the mail for the balance, and they're happy.
That's excellent news. In that case, I think we would have a win-win situation. I think it's definitely best that we address this now as soon as possible.
Yeah, and I also think, I mean, I do actually think from the amount of the research that I did, that even 150 for some businesses may be kind of high. So I just want to put that in there.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm a little bit confused about the program itself. So Mayor Canoia suspended the overall program to the fall, or was there a certain date that was mentioned as how long the program would be suspended?
Well, at the time, I basically had 2 other commissioners. So what has transpired in between has created more of a problem. I couldn't undo anything until I got 2 new commissioners.
And I think the discussion was because the courthouse is closed, that's the biggest thing. So now the courthouse is reopening in October. I think that's what kind of set the date for the temporary suspension until the courthouse reopened.
And, that was even a temporary date because we weren't exactly sure when they were going to reopen. I mean, that was a target date way back in May.
So would it be, I know that the commissioners want to bring this to, fruition, get it started again. But it sounds like there's so many considerations, and it is, I think what happened in the initial program, things were just done quickly. So I don't feel that you should do it again now. I don't think, let's get this out right away. I think it should, as Commissioner Duckett said, have a thought out, well-crafted letter to the businesses. So I don't see why you cannot, since there was a temporary suspension, why cannot you extend that suspension maybe through the end of the year? Is that something that is just out of the question to extend the suspension of the program? Maybe not through December 31st, but maybe through November. That way you have time to really think it through, because there are more considerations, and I see that there are more considerations that haven't been talked about today. That's all. Thank you for allowing me to say a few words.
Can I make another suggestion, which is, I don't know where, so I think if we decide to delay this and we're assessing the fee in December or January.
I think you froze there, Commissioner.
Sorry. I was gonna say, am I still here?
We can hear you.
Okay. What if we figured out our fees and then charged half of them and say, because businesses for 6 months pretty much weren't able to operate at their full capacity, we are going to charge, because of COVID this year, half of the new fees that we have determined will be assessed again in June.
Not unreasonable.
I like that.
The fees would be able to be passed much more quickly than the rest of the ordinance.
Okay,
So
and
we could,
starting the fee, you're starting to charge that fee, I believe you said in June?
no, that's when we normally charge our fee.
Right, but I just heard you say we would charge half in June.
No, it sounds
Why I wanted
like,
to make that clear.
okay, it sounds like, it sounds like this just passing the resolution is a concern for you. Am I correct, Linda?
It's a concern in the fact that if we're going to pass the resolution, we need to know what we're doing. Obviously, we didn't in the first place. And I don't want to go into a second time around with the same, and then second guessing again.
Right. But I feel like you've done a lot of research. So I feel like you kind of know what we're doing this time around.
Right.
Well,
And then also, Linda, I was wondering, can you share with us some of those things that, since you have done research, some of those things that you are most concerned about, so that at least we can, we have an idea of which direction you're thinking could create the most, let's say, or set us back, or the most concern.
well, a lot of that concern, as you know, most of our businesses are smaller. We aren't, we don't have large businesses within the town limits at this point.
Right.
We don't have people with 40,000 square feet of space.
Right.
So most stores are very small. And again, a $300 bill is a bit daunting for some of them. Obviously, they didn't pay it last year. I would like to, number one, Ellen and I have been working with trying to get this business group going and getting with these people to find out what, okay, you decided you didn't pay. You didn't want to pay and you didn't pay. Why didn't you want to pay? And one of the reasons I've gotten is, well, I get it for $300. And when you, everybody says, okay, well, the county charges a fee. They pay a fee for the county, but at $54, I wouldn't expect anything for from the county. But at $300 from the small town of Upper Marlboro, I would expect a lot, at least something. And that's, right now, at the time, we weren't able to throw out, we have a police department because we didn't have one. There wasn't one that was, that they just looked at me and said, yeah, which officer? So you have to work with them as well.
Based on your research, what would you say reasonable fees for like businesses under 40,000 square feet versus businesses over 40,000 square feet would be?
Yes. Hold on.
While Linda's doing that, can I say something again concerning the question that you posed to her? I think the different fees are great, but to use square footage, does that help anybody? Because someone could have a large amount of square feet, but they're not bringing in much money. I think maybe to use revenue, gross sales, for example, would probably
I was just using
better.
what Linda threw out, but that's a better idea. You're right. Sorry.
Well, there are those that will go by gross sales. I'm looking at, for example, this is Hyattsville. They go by different classes. They have 5 different classes, and their fees range from $100 to $425 in 5 different classes. So it's, I could go through. How each one does it, and every municipality is different. And unless you're looking at it across the board, and then you go, well, we can't do that, or we should do that, or we shouldn't do that. It's not going to make a lot of sense if I say this is what we should do.
Because I know that you and Evelyn on the Sustainable Communities have put a lot of thought and a lot of research in this over probably a year now. So I just was hoping that you would be able to kind of present us with, here's what I think is the best thing to go forward with.
I agree. The problem right now, Sarah, is that was our intent, to have something better than just discussion. However, now we're working on a grant for the FIP program, and I think I mentioned that at the last meeting, and we have to have that application in by October the 15th. So that's what we're working on right now. That kind of pushed the proposal for the business license program aside.
Okay.
So because the town is going to grow anyway, we could look at, like, the town is going to grow, so we could look at a fee that's going to work for everyone so that we could just move forward.
I might add that I have seen that other municipalities do go off of, some go off of gross sales and some goes off of net sales based off the fee that they charge their businesses. I know most businesses like doing it more so on their net rather than their gross. I mean, because probably at most businesses, it could be less money they pay to the municipalities. I mean, and of course that kind of makes it uniform across the board, so that a small business doesn't feel like they're being, slighted or being on the same level as a bigger business that has more sales or that gets more traffic and things like that. So just having it set at one rate across the board, or one rate based off their percentage of their gross sales. I think that could be something, again, that's uniform across the board. You may get some businesses, depending on what type of business, that's, crunching numbers. But at the end of the day, we can only go off of with the documentation that they have filed with the state or the government. And then the other thing I might add is I know we've been throwing some different things around as far as what they want. I know there are some maybe minute things that we do offer to any business or property homeowner, commercial owner within the town of Marlboro. There's a few things obviously that we offer that I think that may not necessarily be, I think that are visible, but they may think that it's the norm, whether it's picking up the trash and debris out front of their businesses, whether it's making sure that they have a fast and swift response on police officers for their safety and things like that. But also, if we're going to continue to have community events or have committees or grow on our committees as we annex, maybe we say it's something as far as, if it is 150 or if it is 300, maybe a percentage of that we automatically put into the fund, or the entire percentage gets put into a fund for, hey, this is going to fund our events committee to do certain events down. And obviously, hopefully that can affect their business in a positive way. If it is Lido's, you're bringing more businesses to the town, and potentially, I'm not sure what else you can do for some of those attorney offices, but at least it's reinvesting back in the community. And that's what you want as a board of commissioners or a council, is to have businesses that's coming that's going to be friendly enough to give back to the community to help it grow and hopefully be able to expand on it all. So that's just my thought.
I think that what Will is saying is something, another piece to this puzzle. When businesses say, what's in it for me? What do we get? I think it does need to go into a more specified fund. Beautification for downtown, even Main Street, or we also need to think about putting some of that aside into a fund for a, God forbid, another pandemic or a disaster. I've sat in meetings and listened to towns that are giving loans and or grants to their businesses to stay open because they had the money to do so. We wouldn't, there's no way. And I sat with business owners and this year through this pandemic that are hurting. And I can't offer them any relief because we have none. So to say, and if, we got $15,000 last year, or, so far in business license fees, $15,000, which wouldn't go very far. But if we had been doing this all along and putting a little bit aside, we might have been able to help some of these people. They went through a lot just trying to get loans or the grants from, COVID. It's not as easy as it sounds. Yeah, so I think we need to seriously think about how we approach it and how, when we pose it to the businesses, what it does for them and for the town. Just to say we're charging you $300 with absolutely no explanation, which is what we did. I wouldn't have paid it if I was a business. Not without an explanation.
Well, I think because they've been getting our services for free for so long, then they didn't understand why they should start paying for it.
Yeah. Suddenly say we now have to pay $300 for what?
Because
that's what we were not listening to the last time, and I think we need to listen to it this time.
But now
Yeah,
that
I think, sorry, Janice, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. But now that we are, and the fact that Sarah brought up a very good point, and something that I mentioned earlier or asked was, were we actually charging? So this is a shock to the business, to their system, to their business. And while I understand, and I totally understand that they were struggling, many businesses were and still are, but I think that with all of the research and the conversations that you and Evelyn have had over the period of time, knowing that we have been, that this is coming up and we need to make a decision, we need to, at this point, be prepared to. I don't think, it's going to take, the research is there. It sounds like it's been done. You all have been working on this, a great deal for a year. So I think that, that if we continue to go in this route where with the businesses where they're not receiving anything from us in terms of expectation out there and allowing them to continue to, we need to be able to update them, and we need to also be able to give an expectation. What that is, it could be the letter due to COVID that Sarah suggested, or otherwise we could just make the motion to reduce the fees. And something, since Kyle already also mentioned that only 2 businesses have paid, so even if it's less than 150, I think that we're still at a good place right now that we can make this decision and move forward and still receive some revenues for the town.
Thank you, Janice. That sounds to me, as the chair of the Sustainable Communities, and so supportive and want to be supportive of the businesses, I think that's a good idea, what you just broached to the commission, to make a decision right now today, at least on the fees. And then that would allow us to go further with, what are we going to do with the program? How, and we can provide a proposal to you as you asked, what does the mayor want for this business license program? And then can give you clear cut ideas along with Kyle helping us.
If I may interject, just want to, this was mentioned by Administrator Snyder before, and also kind of reviewed in the our attorney's municipal orientation. The resolution will just be about the fees. Right. And the resolution refers to the ordinance 2018-07, and will always remain, that reference will have to always remain in a new resolution. If we're resetting fees, that reference to the original ordinance will stay there until a new ordinance is done. Now, the resolution, as Administrator Snyder pointed out, it can be introduced and passed same meeting, and it can be done every meeting. You can redo a resolution every meeting if you wanted to. Nobody wants to, but that's the reality of it. The ordinance, you have to introduce and then wait till the next town meeting to pass. And, because you have up to 60 days to pass an introduced ordinance. And so that takes longer. So I just wanted to remind everyone that of that the resolution is not as set in stone, so to speak, as the ordinance is. Thank you.
I'm sorry, because I'm the one in the middle who doesn't really fully, like, I'm making this longer because I think Linda wants to just not do it because COVID, and Janice wants to go forward with something. And I have a suggestion, which is, could we just say, due to COVID, we are having this year, the fee for every business will be 10% of their regular business fee. That means we're asking people to send us $30, or even if it's 15%, whatever it is, like a very small percentage. So we're not asking them to send us a lot of money. They're still paying us something, so they have that consistency, and we're getting a little something. I don't know what you two think about that as a kind of middle option.
When I'm just thinking, when I think of saying something that comes to me that says, I want a percentage of your sales.
Mhm.
That says, I don't know. It just doesn't set well with me.
I mean a percentage of the fee we
No.
normally charge,
Right.
not the sales.
Okay. Okay. Good.
So basically $30 for most of the businesses, I think.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying, 10% of the $300 fee.
Right.
Oh,
Or even 25% is like $75, whatever, something very minimal, but keeps the consistency and doesn't ask for a lot because we have this COVID situation.
Okay, since as we assess the businesses in June,
Mhm.
so we're looking at June, July, August, September, October, November, December. If we use the 15%
Mhm.
sample instead of 10%,
Mhm.
15% because that's probably closer to how much
It's
time?
$45.
No.
What?
How much time they would, because a lot of them have not been in business, so to speak,
Right.
business situation.
Yeah. I'm just saying 15% of 300 is $45. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So if we did go with 15% of the fee, we be given the situation that we're in right now.
Right.
And then we would that would just basically just put a Band-Aid on it, but
Right, but then we have the time to do it.
then we can do what we need to do and hopefully have a few meaningful conversations with them in the meantime. And in the spring, revisit the whole thing with ordinance change and going forward.
Mm-hmm.
But if that $45 is for the rest of this year,
Mm-hmm. No, for all of this year from June, because they didn't pay in June.
June to June.
June to June. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That is probably more livable for them. Exactly. And it should, and it will give us something. But I still think we really need to sit down, not just. And
I think this needs to be
what are our options are, because when this came through the first time, I saw no options. This was what we were going to do.
Well, yeah, but now we are in charge now, the three of us,
Yeah.
right? And so we can just look at what you and if you and Evelyn, you guys have a October 15th deadline for this other thing. So I'm wondering, maybe could you guys come up with something for like the October work session or the November town meeting that would be, based on what you guys know from the businesses for us to look at, and then see if it's what we want to present to them. And then that way we can move forward. So we're definitely ready to go by June.
And we can
assess
we
them
can also do that.
Mm-hmm.
My goal was, first I had to find out if everybody wanted to go forward, period.
Yeah, I think it
a moratorium. That's what was the discussion was this evening, was see if we wanted, how we wanted to go forward.
Well, we do. So I agree with Sarah. I think everything that Sarah just said, I would agree with that, and seeing if we could come together with something. So we're here now. We're ready to kind of move forward with getting an answer so that we can have a plan. And I think June to June would be good. And that, so I would say all of the research that you've done, that you all have done, will help provide that guidance that we need with the finely crafted letter. And will also, what you just suggested, or Sarah suggested, the percentage of 15%, and it sounds like you're agreeable to that. So then now we just need to get just some of the basics out of the way, just to keep us and hold us till next June. But I would like to be able to get something, just make this a priority and get it done.
Yeah. So Dave, do we need a resolution to send, instruct Will to send out letters that's saying,
No.
okay, Will can just do that.
We just need direction from the board. If right now the board agrees, we can draft a resolution for the October town meeting. So in 2-3
Yes.
weeks, that will get passed with a Band-Aid kind of fix at a fee of, I'm hearing $50, $45.
Right.
I wouldn't say percentage. I would just set a dollar amount that this is the fee that's year, instead of trying to throw percentages. Would just be my recommendation. And
Can
then
we have a whereas that says something about COVID?
yes,
in it?
yeah. Whereas the board is under declaration of emergency, yeah, we can put all that language in there, and we're changing it to $50 or $45. I think is what I'm hearing. If I just get a number amount, we can draft that tomorrow.
We can draft that tomorrow at 45.
45. So we'll do that, and then I can also reserve time on. I know that October 15th, so that'll be the Band-Aid fix through June 2021, and I can reserve a space at the November work session to give the mayor and Evelyn time to maybe come up with some suggestions for the board. And then I would recommend that the board would pass a final revised ordinance and resolutions to start on July 1st, 2021 by April, to give time to get stuff set up. So that gives us December, January, February, March, April. That gives us plenty of time to space it out and discussion. So I'll pencil out time at the November work session to bring it back up for the 2021, July 2021 permit. But you'll see a resolution in a couple weeks in October. Once you guys pass it, the town will take action to send those letters out. And in the meantime, we can start drafting the letter and getting it all ready, but they just won't get mailed till Wednesday, October 15th, whatever the day after the work session is. If that works for the board.
That sounds good to me.
Okay.
Everyone else?
And the approval vote for that will come at the October town meeting. No need for a vote or
There's no need to vote because we don't have the resolution in front of us.
Yep.
Right.
That'll work. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And our, whoops. Okay, Kyle, you want to bring us up to date on the project, the playground project?
Absolutely. So we have sent in the approval for the artwork. I know there's some questions about one of the last pieces of artwork. So just go over some board options for that. But I also wanted to throw in real quick that the playground company the whole process has slowed down because the county's only partially open with the permitting. The DPI is not fully up and functional apparently, but what we have gotten so far is the county initially told the permit specialist for the contractor that the town would have to go through the mandatory referral process, which is what we went through with the town hall because it's a government building and it's public property, has to go through that special level of permitting. But we wrote a letter and based off some language that the contractor gave us and sent it to DPI requesting that we bypass mandatory referral because of such a low impact on the existing vacant lot. It's not like we're building a new town hall or renovating a town hall. We're putting in a very small playground with absorbent and pervious surfaces. We're not cutting down trees or drastically changing the environment. So they think that that letter with a bit more of an explanation will help bypass that process and speed stuff up. Because right now I think the county just sees it, improving a vacant lot with a project and they think building, but it's really just a very low impact project. So that's that's where we're at now. And I can provide updates once we hear back from DPI. But I know Commissioner Franklin wanted to talk about one of the pieces of artwork, and I don't have it. I can pull it up real quick. I didn't put it on the slide, so give me 1 second.
Yeah. I didn't notice initially, after the first presentation Kyle gave, I noticed that one of the pieces of the artwork had kind of it looked like some slaves loading tobacco barrels onto a ship while conquistadors watched. So I thought that was concerning. But I didn't notice there was another piece of artwork that has slaves picking tobacco in a field. Kyle's pulling it up, and there's, yeah, right there. So I don't know that, I guess the artwork is already in process, but I think we should not have that on a playground. Especially given the current situation in the Black Lives Matter resolution that the board passed back in June, I think it was.
Yes, I agree. I saw that as well. I don't know how far along this is in fabrication. Kyle, can you speak to that?
Sure. So it's been released to production because we did approve the artwork. But one of the things I told Commissioner Franklin what we can do is we're probably not going to open the playground till spring anyways. And once the panel comes in, we could measure it and just get a sticker and with new artwork and put it right over it. Or order just the new panel for that. But I wouldn't try to hold it up now at the process because it's just one panel of the entire playground system. So we have time to kind of pick out new artwork, and I can work with the playground company. If once we get new artwork selected, just order a sticker and put it right over that, and it would fit exactly in there, if that makes sense. Just a heavy duty outdoor grade sticker. And that would save us.
Vandalizable?
Yeah, I mean, if they spray
like scratch
paint
offable.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to get peeled off very easily. But that could buy us time in the future. We could replace just the whole panel, but that would be probably a quick $50 fix versus trying to put a change order in.
Or just not put the panel on initially.
Yeah, or cover it up, leave the shipping wrapping on it or something like. But the playground, because we have put some of the expenditures on hold, such as the pathways and some of the tree stuff. So even though the playground structure itself will be built, we're not expecting to put in the asphalt path to it and some of the other items that will allow us to fully open the park until spring 2021 anyways. So even if it gets delivered and installed in winter of 2020, no one should be playing on it or engaging with it until we formally open it. So it gives us about 6 months to figure something out.
And the panel doesn't actually have to be, it's like screwed in, right?
Yeah, it's screwed in. The
panel could
all, that's what I was saying. We could just order a whole new panel once this part gets delivered and put the new.
We could just
in.
not install this panel.
Yeah.
That's
or in the meantime, once we get a new piece of artwork, I can reach out and see. They were just pretty heavy in because we approved the artwork.
Yeah, because I missed it. Yes.
And so it went through, but we could do it now. We could do it 6 months. So if I get another picture to replace it with now, I could see if we could squeeze it in before it gets put into production the next couple of weeks, or we just kind of do the low cost. And there'll probably be a cost, just saying a change order, a couple $100, I'm guessing a couple hundred.
Can you zoom out so I can see that whole panel, Kyle? Because maybe we could just throw in one of those pictures that Mary Grace sent over.
Mm-hmm. So this is the front, and then nope, that's the back. Yeah, I'm actually kind of lost. I don't know what the back of that panel is, but
yeah, maybe we could throw in the roller coaster picture,
or a picture of a train, because we don't. I don't think we have.
How big is the picture in the first place?
Judging by bits, I'm guessing not over 12 by 12.
Okay.
Because the panel itself is probably only 2 or 3 feet by 4 feet, 3 or 4 feet. So that's why I'm thinking a sticker, put it right there exactly on there, and no one would ever know.
Okay, I realize that picking tobacco and slavery and that is a very touchy subject in this day and age. However, we can't lose sight of the fact that if it weren't for that, this town wouldn't be here. Tobacco is our history.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very big part of our history. It's in our town seal.
Right, and slavery is a big part of our town's history too. Yeah. I just question whether,
No,
given the demographics of our town, if a kid playing would want to see basically a picture of their ancestors being enslaved.
May I say something at this point again?
Yes.
This is part of African American history.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And when I look at it, I actually don't see slaves. I see indentured servants. I see the circuit. I see the tobacco circuit, because Upper Marlboro was a great part of the circuit. Matter of fact, that's where you got the Marlboro cigarette from, because the town of Upper Marlboro was so important to the tobacco industry. So I see it as number one, just as Linda said, that it is part of our history, tobacco. And I do not see that picture being a slave picture. However, it would be nice to have another type of picture. It's because it's all in perception. Because I guess you're saying these two people who are slaves, or are you saying that this person here is the slave master? I do think if you could find a better picture that depicts tobacco, as Kyle said that he would look for that. But I do not, my perception, I don't see it as reminding us of slavery. And if it does, it should.
Yeah,
we don't want to forget about it.
I don't think we should forget about slavery. I think when we're talking about our history being a history in tobacco, we need to talk about it being slavery, because tobacco equals slavery, because that's, enslaved peoples picked the tobacco. But I just think kids.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't put that in the playground. I wouldn't have put any of that in the playground.
Right.
So I just said, for that purpose. But if you want to make that playground show history, I think that you should show the town of Upper Marlboro's history in an unobtrusive way. That's all I'm saying.
And, I know one thing that's been discussed is this is just one part of the overall park, and just we could focus the playground itself on the train system, and then have a different aspect of the park convey some other the history of tobacco and whatnot in a fully thought out. You know what I mean? Just a theme. So the playgrounds representing the train that came through, but we have another part of the park that discusses tobacco, or is informational through that part. Because the one thing that we've always seen through this park is, yes, it conveys the history of the town. The train is one part, equestrian's another, and how do we incorporate those themes in the park? So the playground's one thing, but we could even have a smaller play structure in the future or a swing set that talks about tobacco or something. But I could easily find some pictures of trains, because just looking at the slide, the whole slide talks about trains and not tobacco. Is another thing. So I could just find a picture. We could get a picture of the train, or maybe a map or something put on there, and just keep it on theme with, stickers would be $50 and no one would ever know.
Yeah. That's.
And Kyle, we can also get with our contact at the Bayside Museum again, and she might have an actual, picture of the train from.
Yeah, that would be great. I don't think we have a picture of the train on the whole thing, but we also have another, the plan is to add the smaller person, the 2 through 5 play structure as the train itself too. So we have another play structure, obviously, that we can plan for now, that we had submitted a grant for with DNR but we haven't finalized any designs or signed any contracts. So that's another opportunity for this new board to move forward with the vision of the park as well on that the 2 through 5 play structure, which we'll probably hear back. We'll hear back from the grant in May or June of 2021. And then we can start the design process and feedback, or we could actually do that before, once I hear back that it sounds like we're going to be getting the grant. But I can just give me some direction. I'll take my marching orders and get it fixed. Just let me know.
I definitely think because of its location on the play structure, and it should be covered, or either covered or the panel replaced. I do think obviously that our history is tobacco. That means our history is slavery, and we need to talk about it. I just think that kids probably don't want to be staring at it when they're trying to play.
And Kyle, why don't you look into seeing if we can replace that picture at this point? If we can
Patty's
still do
got
that.
something. Patty has a picture, I think,
Oh,
for us.
she's chatting.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. I see something. So, yeah, everywhere. And what we could do now is start to think about how we portray the tobacco in another part of the park. I know we've talked about other sections of parks being a time capsule for 2020 and some sort of memorial for Commissioner Leonard and a splash pad. So these are all different items that we could theme out and figure out how to tie all the town's history into this park through these different play structures and different.
Hi, this is Patty. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so apparently Brian did something so that my microphone's not working. But anyway, we have a variety of pictures of actual inspections of the tobacco warehouses and the tobacco itself. So if you wanted to add anything not field-like, we could probably provide you with some pictures, actual pictures of tobacco inspections.
Okay. I think that would make sense. I just think getting that out of the kids area where it's harder to contextualize is, so yeah.
Okay, Kyle, again, go ahead. We can make that change now. And if we can't, if you'll send a couple of pictures over or as many as you can so that we can make a decision. If we can
I'll do so.
way
Yep.
before it goes into production.
Yeah, I'll call them tomorrow and see if it's a change order, if we caught it soon enough, or if the fact that the permit itself is slowing the whole process down works in our favor for this as well.
For this one, yes.
Yeah, so. Just for the panel, but.
Yeah,
I didn't miss anything else, did I, guys?
Last chance, so everybody take a good look. Also, if you could find out if in fact, if there is a change order, how much it's gonna cost.
Absolutely will do. And we do have some budget for contingencies that we're gonna spend on, so let's eats up a bench or something like that, or the town just eats up the cost. It's not a huge part, but yeah. But worst case is $50 high quality sticker if the panel ends up being $5,000 or something.
Yeah.
So I'll call them tomorrow, get that, and then hopefully maybe this week or early next week we can finalize the new photos and get the.
Okay. Okay, oh dear. Okay, we, at this point, will go into closed session and I have something I have to read, which I moved out of place.
And just while the mayor looks up for the commissioners, I did send an email earlier today with the 2 links, one with the regular session that we're in now, and then the closed session, just so it's easy for you guys to switch back and forth.
Oh, I have to click on a different thing.
Yeah, so you can leave this meeting. I'll stay on this meeting unless you pull me to the other one, and we'll just keep this running for if people want to sit and wait or whatnot. And this meeting will still be open, but because you guys will be reopening the meeting afterwards, to potentially make a decision, you'd be logging back into this. So that's why I sent an email trying to make it a bit easier for you guys. But obviously the closed session was not shared with the public, and it's also got the additional password. Normally we don't use passwords, but just because it's a closed session, we added that.
So Kyle, is this the closed session? Are the departments head included in this?
No,
Yeah, so you can call in any staff or the town attorney you'd like at the time. So it's just gonna initially just be the 3 commissioners, and then if you guys see the need to call anyone in, we'll share it as needed. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they're on standby? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
we're all on standby, just waiting on your.
okay. I got it. And we are about to go to closed session for this meeting. We're closing the meeting to the public in accordance with the procedures found in General Provisions Article 3-305B of the Maryland Code. The topic and purpose of this closed session is personnel discussion and to consult with our town attorney on options for possible next steps in light of the recent outcome of the Old Marlboro Elementary School petition for judicial review. The specific statutory authority to close the session is found in General Provisions Article Section 3-305, subsection B, paragraph 7. Is there a motion to close the meeting for the reasons and legal basis for closure as stated above? I need a motion.
I motion to close session. Is that complete, Mayor, or is that incomplete statement?
Yeah, just a simple I motion to go into closed session for the above reasons.
No.
Yeah. And then we just need a second, and then the board will vote.
I motion to go into closed session for the above reasons.
I second the motion.
Okay, having heard a second, it has been moved and seconded that the commission will go into closed session. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will take the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Aye.
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 The ayes have it, and the motion to close the meeting is passed. The attendees of the closed meeting will be President Penoyer, Commissioner Franklin, Commissioner Duckett, and Town Attorney Kevin Best, Esquire. It is now 8:49.
So noted.
Don't have too much fun. Talk to you soon.
Hello, can someone hear me?
Hi, Mr. Calico. This is Darnell. I can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Just making sure for when they come out of the meeting. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Kyle?
Yeah.
I tried to get into the other meeting, but it said that it wasn't started. Am I?
Oh, let me go in there and see if oh, okay. Let me start it.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Thanks.
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, Dave, if you stay on, I'm going to pass this meeting over to you so I can host the other one.
I was just gonna grab my salad and.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
As long as you just leave your screen on. So give me 1 sec.
Yeah, I just covered my camera and I wanted to let you know I was here. I just couldn't eat the salad. I didn't want everybody watching me eating salad. How long do you think that's gonna take?
15, 20 minutes maybe.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
a couple times to go to the bathroom and stuff. So I'm gonna head out now so I can start this.
Okay.
Mr. Williams.
Hey guys, so just FYI, I'm gonna have to end this meeting and we'll restart it afterwards. I know we're going on the call, so I'll just shoot an email when we're ready to reopen the other meeting. Zoom's just not letting me have 2 meetings at a time.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll email everyone. I apologize for that. I didn't know they had this requirement, so we'll share everyone an email before we reopen the other one.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay, thanks. Bye.